Welcome back to the Taranis Q X7 series of videos. If you haven't been following along, look in the description. You'll find a link to the playlist. I've gone ahead and hydro-dipped everything, which was the last video. Now it's time to reassemble it. I didn't remove these rubber hand things in the last disassembly video, but I did end up removing it for the hydro-dipping. It was very simple to take off. You just pull it off with your fingers. Alright, getting these things back in was actually a lot harder than taking them out. I guess I'll go ahead and pop this thing on. This handle that goes on the back, I'm going to put it on the other way. It was facing like reverse. I just like it this way because I can put it in my case a little bit better. It will fit a little bit flatter. For this front cover, I'm going to go ahead and stick the screen back on. Make sure you clean your fingerprints off the back side of it, because it would really suck to have to take this apart again. Let's take this screen. I'm going to clean it off. Okay, now I'm going to put this piece back in. Then this screen. And then this black cover. I'm going to take the lanyard thing and put it through this side. And then tighten the locking nut down. Now take the menu buttons and put them back in their hole. All four of our trim switches, place them in their holes. All four are exactly the same, so it doesn't matter where they go. I'm going to put the microphone back on. It just kind of sticks in place. The power button. I'm going to put a drop of glue just to make sure that these don't come off. Take these rings, pop them back in place. Now I could be wrong, but I think it's time to put all the guts back in. Hopefully I don't have to take anything back off again. I'm going to start with the bottom. Okay, I've got these 8 screws in to hold the bottom PCB down. One tip that I have is make sure that this middle button is centered, because if it's not, it's going to get stuck. I was having that problem, so I had to loosen the screws back up and straighten it out and then retighten them, and now it's fine. Next, I'm going to put both of these trim switches back on, as well as the power PCB. Okay, at this point I'm going to put this ribbon back in. Just open up this locking tab, slide it in. Okay, I had to use some tweezers. I cheated. But once it's all the way in, just close the locking tab. Actually, before I put the transmitter PCB back in place, what I'm going to do is take all the switches and put them back in. Might as well do it now while it's still easy. Not to mention, these won't go in with the transmitter PCB in place, so you have to do it now. Either way. Also remember that the nuts for these dowels are thicker than the rest, so there's going to be 2 that are different from the others. And like I mentioned in my teardown video, because I marked these with a marker, I know exactly where they go and in what position. Okay, now I'm going to bolt the transmitter PCB in place. Now plug the speaker back in. I did call a microphone earlier, sorry about that. By the way, if you didn't mark your switches, I know somebody's going to ask. These top switches, they only go in one way, so that one shouldn't be hard to figure out. But the red wire is on the outside, and then on these lower switches, the red wire is on the bottom. And same thing on the other side. For the gimbals, we can now bolt these in place. And remember that these tension bars right here go towards the inside. Time to put the wire looms back on. I seem to have already lost one. I don't know how. I looked everywhere. I'm sure it will come up when I'm not looking for it, but I think we'll be alright. So for this antenna, in my disassembly video, I said I wasn't going to remove it, but I did anyway. I also said that it is a pain in the butt to take off without damaging it, but the design seems like it's just like the Taranis X9D, but they must have made some kind of change because it was a lot easier to take off. I did do a horrible job hydro dipping this antenna, but I really don't care because, like I said, I'm going to give you guys the antenna mod video coming up soon. Because I chose to desolder the antenna instead of dealing with the other stuff, it was just easier for me to do it that way. I'm going to solder it back on, but I'm going to do it off camera because I don't want to risk messing it up. At this point, I think it's safe to put the back cover back on. I'm going to go ahead and throw the battery back in and then put the cover back on. And there we go. Let's flip it around. I only finger tightened all of these nuts, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten those up. Now I'll take this little dowel, pop it back in place. These little knobby things, I'm going to center these first and then put them back on with this line facing straight up. We're all done. So here's the finished product. It's not the best work I've done. It's actually the worst hydro dipping I've ever done, but I was in a super rush. So whatever, it works. I'm slightly happy with it. So make sure you look in the description below for a link to the playlist for the following videos. Now that we have done the disassembly, hydro dip, and reassembly, we can now get into the good stuff of actually setting this thing up and using it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.